When I was younger, my mind was blown when we went from being able to get our hands on foam and plastic replica belts like this one to suddenly having these pop up on WrestlingSuperstore.com. And here is one of those belts that caught my eye all those years ago. It's from 2001 and is particularly rare these days, especially in this condition. This is one of the originals that didn't even include the 6th plate. That was something that you had to purchase separately and add yourself. I pestered my dad for months to get one of these, never really thinking that he was actually ever going to get it for me. I was just enjoying being an annoying kid. But then one night he surprised me. He woke me up in the middle of the night and presented me with a printout of the order form. It shipped over from the US. I bought the 6th plate when it was available and added it myself. Plus I also paint modded it to have the white WWF scratch logo as opposed to the original gold. And this has been one of my most prized possessions ever since. But the thing is, these days it's not so easy to get your hands on one of these. While you can still technically buy these on the WWE Shop, they've had to make some obvious changes, like making a WWE scratch logo rather than the WWF. And there are also some improvements as well, most notably with the quality of the straps and the thickness of the plates. But there are also a number of belt makers out there making their own versions of these older belts. Many of them are based in countries like Pakistan, where the copyrights of the WWE and the original belt designers aren't valid. And let's face it, many of them are awful, cheap pieces of tat. But some of them are actually incredibly well made by really talented people. And one of those that's often touted for his skills, although maybe not always his customer service, is Orm Belts. He's particularly well known for his takes on the WWF Winged Eagle and the WWF Big Eagle. While I love my Big Eagle, it's very much a piece that's meant to be displayed rather than feeling like a true replica in the hands. It's something I'll explain a little better as we get into this video. So I took the plunge and got myself an Orm Big Eagle, but how do they compare? Well, let's take a look. So firstly, I'm going to walk you around the Figures Inc. WWF Big Eagle replica. Before I do that, I need to say a few modifications I've made to this belt. So this original centre plate was very flat when I first got it. So I've added a curve to it by basically just, because they're only 2mm plates, I've put it over my knee and I've just bended it so it looks a little bit close to what it should do. But be aware that with the new ones, they're actually 4 or 5mm plates, depending on whether you get the latest ones from WWE Shop or whether you're buying them secondhand, and they will be almost impossible to bend, or they might be, but they'll be very tough. And one thing obviously that you will notice is that this has WWF logos throughout, so you've got the WWF scratch logo up at the top. This is gold on the official replica, and it was originally gold on this. I've paint modded this to be white, and then also on the side plates as well. And then there is also a 6th plate over here, which is a logo plate, which is not a JMAR logo plate. It's sort of a generic property of World Wrestling Federation logo plate, which would now read property of World Wrestling Entertainment, obviously. These originally were not on these replicas. You had to buy them separately and then add them yourself, which I have done, but they sort of come as standard now. One other thing would be obviously this band that reads World Wrestling Federation will also read World Wrestling Entertainment. Now this uses a very, I don't know if I say poor quality strap, but it's very much meant to be something that's just for display. It does not bend well, and I've certainly shown in previous videos that these old Figures Inc. straps can crack very easily. And obviously, you know, they're not one-piece leather at all. They are 3 or 4 pieces of different materials. You've got like a sandwich of cardboard and things in it, and then also like on the snap boxes here, you've got additional pieces of simulated leather. So these, to get one in this shape these days is almost impossible because generally they didn't last very long. But you can see sort of I've added a curve to that. I'll get some close-up shots of these whilst I'm talking about it as well. So that is the WWE Shop, I guess you'd call it. I actually got that from WrestlingSuperstore.com. So now let's bring in the Orm made Big Eagle, and I'll talk you through some of the differences with this belt. Now obviously, first things first, this is on real leather. It is, well, it's one-piece leather, but then it also has a backing on it. So you see here sort of the male snaps, it has a backing on it. And and these are, I believe, 4mm zinc plates. One thing that I was frustrated by when I first got this belt is that these plates are plated in gold, obviously, on the top, but the sides are not plated at all. That you can still see that they're sort of the silver zinc colour, which annoyed me a little bit. It's not necessarily a deal breaker, but it was something that I certainly wasn't expecting. One thing that I was particularly annoyed about, one of these side plates, this side plate here, has quite a few sort of dings in the back and sides of it. It's not so much a problem when it's the back, but you can start to see them from the sides, which is not the best. Overall, though, I mean, the belt is very good looking. It's very heavy because it's got the sort of 4mm plates, and the etching is a lot deeper than it was ever on the official one. One thing that you might notice, if I bring these both in, is you've got sort of more lighter blue on the WWF Shop or the Figures Inc. Globe, whereas this is more of a deeper blue on the sides as well. Obviously you have the scratch logo, slightly different here that it's got WWF and then a TM for a trademark, as opposed to the official one where you got WWF and the R for registered trademark. I've just tried to lift that a little bit because these lights tend to sort of blow out some of the detail. Simulated stones, but much better than the ones that you got in this one. These ones are awful, and I'm actually probably going to change these very soon. I'm not too sure if the current WWE Shop ones are any good, but yeah, these were not good at all, the original ones, so I'm going to replace those soon. A few minor details as well. Obviously on the scratch logo, Big Eagle, the sidebars were more close to that of the Winged Eagle. They weren't separate, they did have these black painted areas, but on the Orm one you can see this area sort of has them painted in between where the sort of sidebars would go round, whereas on the official one you can't really tell that they're sidebars, as it were. They're just sort of, these bits aren't painted and they don't protrude as much, and they're actually not lined up properly to the point where you'd necessarily know that, say, for this spike it goes to this bar, for example. It's not so easy to tell. Overall, though, it is still a beautiful belt, the one from Orm. You've got the nugget texture on the side plates here, which you don't get on the official one, and also you get a proper JMAR logo plate. This was originally gold, which was like the original version 1 of the Big Eagle, but that's not what I asked for. I actually asked for the black with the painted WWF logo. The same up here. This was originally gold, which is not what I wanted, but he did change that for me. It took a little bit convincing for him to do so, but he did in the end. One thing that is very obvious about the strap, other than the fact that this is actually sort of nice quality leather, it's a little bit rough on the edges, to be honest. I was expecting it to be a little bit smoother on the edges, which is a shame, and also sort of the snaps are a bit dull, which is, it is a little bit disappointing in terms of that. But some of the detailing on the strap is a lot nicer than on the official replica, where you have these WWF logos around the outside, and I believe you get WWE logos on the current straps. But granted, the current straps are a lot better, but generally, because these are sort of composites, you get stitching all around the edges and on the snap boxes, which you don't get on this. Now, obviously, with most replicas, all of the bolts on the back are showing. So if I flip this over, you can see all the original bolts on the back, including that 6th plate, which I had to add myself. So if we just move this out for a sec so I can give you a better look at the Orm belt. If I turn this over, be a bit careful, it's going on a wooden table. So obviously this is backed leather, so it's one-piece leather but with a thinner piece on the back. One thing that was annoying when I got this, it did have this score along the back of the leather. Now, Orm said that wasn't there when he sent it. I don't really know what I can say, really. I think I had a little bit of abuse thrown at me trying to say that he did it. I didn't say that he did it, I'm just saying it's there. which isn't great, but you know, it is what it is. It might have been, you know, opened by customs or something, who knows. But generally speaking, you know, it is nice leatherwork, and the whole point of something like this is to try. It's not just about a display piece, it's also something that you can hold in your hands and make it feel like the belt that you saw when you were a kid. You know, when I was growing up, the Big Eagle was the belt to own in the Attitude Era. So having something that is close to the official thing is, well, it's amazing. Is it what I expected it to be? Not necessarily, no. In some ways I am a little bit disappointed with it, but at the same time I can't argue the difference in quality compared to the official replica. If I just bring the official replica in again, remember this is the WWF one. This is from the year 2000, 2001. So 20 years have passed now. So the replicas that you'll get on WWE Shop are not going to be the same as this. They are probably going to be a bit better quality. Certainly thicker plates, certainly deeper etching, but obviously it's going to be WWE. I love my Figures Inc. belt. I can't deny that the quality on the Orm belt is better, but to be honest, I'm still not sold on this one completely. I am happy with it. It is much better than this one. The etching on it is beautiful, but it's not quite what I was expecting. I think what probably the problem is that you know, I had about a 6-month wait on this when I was told it would only be about a month. So the fact that it took that long probably meant that I was expecting a little bit more. But considering what I paid for it compared to what you'd pay for an official replica, then I still think this is probably the better option, the Orm belt. Certainly, I wouldn't go for a WWE version of the Big Eagle. It doesn't really make much sense to me, as that's not what the belt is. It was always a WWF belt, and obviously, I do take into account that getting this particular version, the Figures Inc. belt, is not easy these days. So if your options are the WWE logoed Big Eagle from the WWE Shop or a made Big Eagle, obviously there are other makers out there. For example, there are a lot on eBay. I probably wouldn't go for those ones on eBay. You know, some are okay. A lot of the time they are cheap, awful crap, and they're just not worth your money. Maybe save up and get one from Orm. As I say, I have my trepidations, which I'll explain a little bit better in a sec. But there it is. There is the Orm Big Eagle in all its detail. Nice, thick 4mm zinc plates, deep etching, nugget texturing, decent quality simulated stones, decent paintwork, good leather, all around a good replica. It's clear that the Orm Big Eagle is impressive in its closeness to the real thing, but the one thing that might stop me from recommending his work or buying from him again was his customer service. Now, I believe things have improved in recent times, but I can only tell you what I experienced. I was promised it would take around 35 to 40 days to produce this belt, but it actually took closer to about 6 months. I asked if I could have progress shots in case I wanted to make a video on the subject, but I only got pictures when it was already done, and at that point it wasn't even correct. The Scratch logo and the JMAR logo plate were all gold, which is not what I asked for, but was made to feel like I was inconveniencing him by asking him to paint them. Throughout the process, despite being frustrated, I was lied to in terms of how long it would take, and also accused of being paranoid whenever I asked fair questions. When the belt eventually arrived and I posted my honest feedback on collectors' Facebook groups, showing disappointment that there were scratches on the side plates and the sides weren't plated or gold, and the back of the leather had a score in it, I received a load of messages saying I obviously didn't know what I was talking about, that his belts are the best and they're most TV accurate, and so on and so on. I would show you these messages, but his original Facebook account has since been locked and he's now got a new one. I should have taken some screenshots at the time. But I'm far from the only one that's had problems with him. But even so, as far as I'm aware, he's got a lot better in how he speaks to his customers, and also the quality of his belts just keeps getting better and better. I've seen pictures of his latest Big Eagles and they look great. And I know that his WWF Winged Eagle is meant to be one of the best out there. So overall, for the money that you'd pay, you probably can't go too far wrong with Orm Belts, as you're certainly getting something better and more accurate than anything you'd ever get on WWE Shop. I just hope you have a better experience than I did. But until next time guys, I'll see you later.